Hi, I'm Libby Gibson, Town Manager. Welcome to What's Going On in Town Government. Okay, so Gino, we are really busy. Last week at the board meeting, to launch right in, we had some public comments. Somebody wanted to know about the status of the PEG channel. That is coming soon. I don't know when. We're getting an update next week at the board meeting. There was some discussion about the, quote, shutdown of social media in connection with the wind turbine project. So to make a long story short, there were some concerns by board members as well as the public, and some concern on the behalf of town administration that there was some content of some of the posts that were not reflective of the town's position, so there was a concern about that. There was some phrasing that was not appropriate initially, which said things like, come and tell the Board of Selectmen to do XYZ, and that was problematic. Plus, it became painfully evident that we do not have a social media policy town-wide. So we need to really work on that. In the meantime, though, after some discussion, the board agreed to put back up what are they called? The pages, the sites that had been taken down. There's a Facebook page and a Twitter page. So those are back up with a disclaimer about the postings in terms of the postings that don't come from the town are not reflective of the town's position, and we don't post posts with profanity in them, things like that. So they're back up and with the disclaimer.
What are the names of those? I mean, how do people go to them? Do you know what they are?
Do you know?
You can give them to me later. I'll
give them to you later, and we'll put them in.
All right.
I don't remember. Right. There was also a question about parking at Four Fairgrounds, the public safety facility, and someone asked, are we going to expand the parking? Because from time to time there are dueling meetings out there and there's no parking. We actually reduced parking as part of that project early on in the planning stage due to the recommendations of some groups that thought there was too much parking. We have discussed expanding parking in the back, in between the 2FG and the 4FG properties. We actually have a capital request in. I don't know if it's going to make it through the process or not, but it's in the works, I guess I would say. Plus, you can park at the 2FG parking lot and walk over. It's not a great walkover because it's not lit very well and it's not paved. It's dirt and grass and wood chips. But there is a path, and I've had to use it myself. Okay, so we had this public comment, we had pending contracts. We had a resignation from the Agricultural Commission. The board voted to issue a notice pursuant to the Health Insurance Reform Act, which allows municipalities to implement certain changes to its health insurance plans without formal collective bargaining. However, there are a series of meetings and notices and information that the town is required to give and share and discuss with the unions. So that process has started. We also talked about a recommendation from a group called the Ad Hoc Fiscal Committee that came up with a number of recommendations in 2009 for enhancing revenue, decreasing expenses, and looking at governmental efficiencies. And one of them was to look at options for the possible restructuring of the provision of visitor services. That went down, I would say, in flames. Were you there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the meantime, hey, I'm just putting forward a recommendation that a separate group made, as I do annually. And it was this one's turn, so to speak. So in the meantime, though, the Visitor Services Director and the Chamber of Commerce Director will meet and talk about if the town's department and the Chamber Department have duplication of efforts in any way, and to try to eliminate that or identify them and work together in a more collaborative way if possible. So that discussion will continue on. The Finance Committee had recommended an expansion of the forensic audit of the airport. The board elected not to do that at this time, pending the completion of the forensic audit, as well as completion of the Attorney General's report about procurement practices at the airport, which we do not have yet. The board adopted fiscal 2013 general fund budget recommendations. Those now go to the Finance Committee, which reviews the presentation next Monday, the 23rd at 4 o'clock at the 4FG. I'm pretty sure it's 4FG, but check online to make sure. They also had a discussion regarding the review of the proposed Matticat wind turbine project. And what this is about is having different groups, I guess I would say, or informed parties come in and talk to the board about how the project will be financed, potential concerns about health issues, and potential environmental concerns. So we need to set this up. They also talked about this is where they talked about the social media aspect of that project. They also talked about 2012 annual town meeting warrant articles and ballot questions. And please remember, town meeting this year starts on Saturday, March 31st at 8:30 in the morning at the high school auditorium. So that was last week's meeting. Upcoming for this week, the 18th, we have a couple of gift acceptances. We have the farmers market, Sustainable Nantucket, coming back in for a street and sidewalk blocking permit for the farmers market for this coming summer. There was an abutter concern that was raised when they initially came in at the beginning of December, and hopefully they've resolved their issues by now. Not quite sure about that. We've got some liquor license transfers and change of managers for Corazon Del Mar and the Rope Walk, now to become a restaurant called Crew, C-R-U.
The Rope Walk is going to
The
be
Rope
called
Walk
the Crew?
is going to change management and be called Crew, C-R-U.
Who owns that?
I believe NIR, Nantucket Island Resorts, or some
Oh.
derivation of them, owns the property.
Yeah.
And it was run, of course, as we know, by Joe Pantorno for many years.
Yeah.
And now will be run by a group called Crew AC LLC, C-R-U-A-C-K LLC. Jane Stoddard, manager. We have a public hearing for a telephone petition, a couple other licensings. We have a public hearing regarding the draft coastal management plan. I think I may have mentioned this last week. We had been talking for several months now about the development of coastal management principles. The word principles has fallen flat, so to speak. Nobody really likes that word, including us. But we had some reasons for using that word, and now we've said, oh, who cares? Let's call it a coastal management plan. And really, plan seemed to indicate to us that we're going to be doing something about coastal management. And of course, we do things about coastal management, but it wasn't so much of a plan as regards to coastal erosion and how the town reacts to erosion control projects on its property. And this is all about only town-owned property, not private property. The majority of the coastal outer perimeter of the island is not publicly owned. Maybe almost half and half, but not quite, between the land bank and the town and other nonprofit groups. So we've prepared this coastal management plan, and we've got some public feedback, written comments about it, and we're going to be talking about it at a public hearing on Wednesday. We're also reviewing the fiscal 13 projected sewer enterprise fund budget, as well as a public hearing for, oh, I hate to say this, sewer rate increases. Sorry. I know it's not anything anybody wants to hear, but it's reality, unfortunately. Costs go up, expenses go up, projects need to get done, they have to be paid for. So we're having a public hearing on that. We also are having the board confirm a vote to settle an airport litigation matter known as Divine, and that does involve the payment of a judgment of approximately $400,000. So we're going to talk about how that's going to be paid for and paid back by the airport. And we are supposed to be, the board is supposed to be adopting the 2012 annual town meeting and election warrant. So, Gino, I wanted to mention there are three, as of right now anyway, pending the board's adoption, there are three standalone big capital items that are going to be in separate articles at town meeting. One is the turbine, the wind turbine in Matticat. Another one is Hummock Pond Road bike path. And a third is the renovation of the building at 20 South Water Street, where the old police station was, which would be a facility reuse. And the idea is to renovate that building, to remove the building at 1 East Chestnut Street, currently where the NRTA office is and the Human Resources office, and expand into that space. Move all of the finance offices out of the Mooney building at 22 Federal, and keep the sheriff over here at 20 South Water, as well as a downtown police presence, and establish a little bit of meeting and storage space as well. Now, all of a sudden, we've started hearing, probably because it was in the paper last week, a lot of comment about that particular project. And I wanted to just mention that people are coming forward with some ideas that they think might be better in terms of the renovation of that building, which also involved renovation of this building at 16 Broad Street. We've looked at that. We've looked at a variety of options. We've looked at bringing all offices in town to this block, which would be the renovated, very, very large building, which would combine 20 South Water and 16 Broad. We've looked at selling the properties and moving everybody out of town. And there's a real strong feeling on some people's part that there should be a downtown municipal presence, and we should not sell either building, and we should move as many people as possible, many departments as possible downtown. There's also a very strong sentiment that the departments should move out of town because it's easier to get to. And really, if we did move them all in town, where would people park? That is a definite issue. So there's lots of things that have been taken into consideration over the last 2 years, and even longer, actually, more like 4 or 5 years, in the development of this whole scheme. I shouldn't say scheme. I was told not to use that word, option, because it's not a scheme. You know, we're not scheming anything. We're trying to figure out options for appropriate town space needs. So we're working on trying to get out some information to the public about that particular project, and we're going to get some plans on the website. I think the I&M has some plans on their website. And this will be all put on the website shortly, but just so people know, for a house valued at $1.2 million, an assessed property value of $1.2 million, the 20 South Water project would cost approximately $43.96 per year. Per year, $43. I don't think that sounds like a lot, but that's me.
That's to keep, that's what, but that would be for those
That
people
would
that think
be-
that government should be downtown. I mean, why would you fix that up if you weren't going to use it?
That's true. You're right. That is an aspect of this discussion. So that would be $43.96 for the duration of the borrowing that we would need to do the project, typically 20 years. And that's just 1.2 is, well, actually 1.489345, let's call that 1.5, is the average assessed value. The amount on a tax bill for a property of that assessed value is $54.55. So could we say $55 per year?
So how much
that doesn't
is it
sound like a lot.
expected to cost? 1 point?
Well, it's about 7 million, close to 7 million, rounded off with all costs in.
Oh, 7 million to fix it.
Well, it's between 6.4 and 7, and we were saying 7 for right now, just to make sure we have everything. It may be a little bit less.
So in 20 years, people, you know,
That
their
amount
tax
would
bill
come
would be
off.
45, whatever you said, $45, $46.
Well, that additional amount would be on your bill
Yeah.
every year till the borrowing is
Okay,
over.
and
Yeah.
assuming it was 20 years.
Correct.
Okay, good.
For the other projects, the wind turbine project, that's estimated at $3.5 million. And I'll go with the average assessed value, the $1.5 million average assessed value, that's $27.28. And Hummock Pond Road Bike Path, which is also estimated at about $3.5 million, although we are expecting to receive a donation in the amount of $500,000, $500,000 for that project, but all in, 3.5, it's $32.48, and there are different borrowings. That's why the turbine project and the bike path project are a little bit different. They're not exactly the same amount.
So for
So,
about $100 more a month, we could do all of them.
roughly, Gino, yes,
Mhm.
that's correct. And the wind turbine over time
I mean,
pays for
$100 a
itself.
year.
Year.
Yeah, sorry, I said a month.
Oh my God.
$100 a year.
It's not a month, it's a year.
Right.
So that is where we are. And again, this information will get onto the website. And this is based on fiscal 12, not fiscal 13. So we don't have our tax rate set yet for that year. Okay?
All right.
So that's that. More to follow on all of those projects. And I know that it's really tough because we, the town, very strongly believe we need these projects for the public and to benefit the public, to make our operations more efficient and better service to the public. But also, sewer rates are going up, we understand that, and all other expenses are always going up. They're never going down. So it's a tough sell, no doubt about it. Okay, so that's what's happening. Greg and I and the chairman, Mr. Atherton, are all going to a conference this weekend in Boston called the Mass Municipal Association Annual Conference. We haven't been for a while, like 3 or 4, maybe going on 5 years. So at least the 3 of us. So we're gonna go this year, but it's not overly expensive. Don't worry. There's a registration, and then there is the overnight stay, but it's at a discounted rate, and we have commuter books for our tickets to Boston. We're gonna fly.
Nice.
Yeah, we're up and back. We're not lingering up there.
Okay. 2 nights?
2 nights. Yeah, I think I'm not sure what Rick's plans are. He might just go for 1. I don't know.
Yeah.
What else are you hearing? Anything else?
Not
Do you know
much.
if this weather?
Up and down.
Up and down is right.
You don't mind.
Literally up and down. I don't really mind.
nice
I mean,
today.
I kind of did think over the weekend, well, it is January. This is sort of how it should be, even though I don't love it. Really don't like winter that much.